5 predictions for the future of dating. Number 1, more men will go abroad. I feel this entry being my first is the most important for multiple reasons, but mainly that it shows what I think generally the future of dating is going to look like. Men who have any experience of disenfranchisement with intimacy ways aren't going to be happier in the future unless they change their values to accommodate for society. And if you're having a negative reaction to me saying that, that's all the proof I need, knowing that you're one of the people who are not going to accept the new normalcy. I mean, we already see this in the pickup artist community, a community where men speed date and upload results and share tips to make money. They end up moving abroad to have more fun, fulfillment, and enjoyment outside the West than inside of it. I mean, some of the people who come off the top of my head are John Anthony Lifestyle in Brazil, Rushvi all around the world, and I believe Austin Summers at various points. I know most of these guys are just looking for short-term fun, but the phenomena of mail order brides or online relationships shows there's something to dating outside your ecosystem. I have 3 personal friends I meet with almost weekly, and 2 of them, the ones I'm most regularly in contact with at times, are in online relationships, and they travel out of state to meet their girlfriends. Granted, it's one state across, and it's not outside the West or a completely different cultural group, right? But it definitely shows that a lot of people would be happier outside their dating ecosystem. My general experience is, as long as both partners are not afraid of commitment, are willing to make sacrifices to go meet each other, and they schedule each other's lives around each other, they can make an online relationship work. And just going off the amount of time I've seen both these online relationships these people been in, I'm talking people who've been in relationships with each other for around 6 to 5 years. I'm not joking, right? These relationships last 3 times. Like, the longest relationship I've seen IRL, like with an acquaintance, was 2 years. So I have a lot of positive things to say about online relationships, but that's for another video. But I predict more men will broaden their horizons and try to date outside of their dating ecosystem in the future.
Number 2.
My second prediction is para relationships will become more acceptable and even encouraged in cases of extreme loneliness. This is very popular, but we shame people for engaging in it. This comes in many forms, where it be mukbang channels to full-on dating simulators to professional voice actors scripting romantic novels to Twitch streamers just being sociable. The just chatting option is an example of that. We think of pair relationships, we usually think of a talk show host though traditionally, so it could take many forms. But loosely, it just means you're communicating with someone who's not actually with you. Like someone on a TV screen who's responding to a chat room or to a television prompter or to an audience on set while being filmed. Though the internet has seen an explosion in this. There's audiences of millions of people watching certain content creators daily almost. You don't need a marketing team to figure out that there's a gap in people's social lives that could be filled with this kind of market. I mean, how many guys try to fill their dating lives with anime and video games because they don't have women? I mean, what's that meme go? It's something like, this is what Zero Pussy does.
From Best Buy with an Intel Core i7 processor. This thing is so thin, weighs less than your creepy body pillow.
It's anime.
Yeah, and Anna may never talk to you if she sees.
If there's a video game character and she's a female, there's a 1 in 20 chance she'll go viral. And I think the stigma around this will go away because I think a lot more men engage in it than they realize. Again, it can be very vague. And we saw with Project Melody how popular that got. I'm just going to show Count Dankula's video right now, his thumbnail. Click this. You get the recount in case you forgot what Project Melody was. But yeah, this is going to be very popular in the future. expect more dating simulators, more substitutes to actual relationships instead of people having real ones, or people paying, like going to bars where they get groomed, like their hair combed, and they get, like an escort, but a lot more wholesome, right? Where you do friend activities and whatnot. I'll do a whole video on this one day and how I think this might be a big industry.
Number 3.
Number 3. Normalization of plastic surgery. Cosmetically speaking, you would not want to look as good as the editing in this video. And that's for mind-body horror reasons and expectations of others, which are both perfectly fine and healthy reasons for why someone would want to look as good as possible. Whether it's due to hygiene or health, or the ability to start relationships and maintain them. But how much can you pray to Hygia or Saint Apolia, the saint of good health and the god of health, that you keep putting in the hard work, going to the gym, maintaining a S-tier hygiene regimen that takes everything from brushing your teeth and your tongue, teeth whitening strips, red light therapy, sunscreen, castor oil, Trinton, good sleep, posture enhancers, hair gel, a haircut every 3 weeks, multivitamins, glycolic acid, skin moisturizer, and now for those who are endowed with facial hair, face and beard wash, beard butter, beard oil, and for the weirdos like me, tongue posture. Before I explain why I mentioned all those health and hygiene products, I just have to stress that the gym is the most important one in reality. If you're young and you don't have a medical condition, you won't need most of those products, at most 4, and even that's a bit excessive. Most of the time when someone needs to improve in their appearance, it's because they're not doing something, like they're missing out on some hygiene routine they should be doing, like brushing their teeth. That makes them less attractive. So it's not that you're gaining points, that you're preventing yourself from losing them. Now that I'm done with the redundant piece, I gotta stress, I'm not pro plastic surgery. I just get it. There's definitely some people who have a problem with their body modifications and dysphoria that plastic surgery would reasonably help them. Plus, in the United States, only 1.3 million people get cosmetic surgery, and out of that, per year, by the way. And most of the time, it's tumor removal or something that's done for medical reasons, like a scar, or they fell and they broke their nose. Or it's something like Botox or some kind of laser that makes wrinkles less profoundly noticeable. In reality, the stereotype of someone who's obsessed with plastic surgery and body modifications isn't the representative for people who go in for plastic surgery, even regularly, because a lot of plastic surgery you have to redo every few months. In reality, most people who get plastic surgery are very responsible with it. And yes, there's outrage shows like Botched, where they'll show someone who went to a plastic surgeon who didn't know their thing or was nowhere near as qualified as they advertise, and they end up ruining their face temporarily until someone fixes it for them. Another interesting thing to know about plastic surgery is it's mainly old people who want to stay competitive in their market or in their industry that end up getting plastic surgery. Plastic surgery is on the rise statistically. There's even a term for it in regards to Snapchat filters and how people want to look more like their Snapchat filters.
These cosmetic procedures are becoming so popular with teens, plastic surgeons have coined a new syndrome for it, Snapchat dysmorphia, with young patients wanting surgery so they can look more like they do in filtered selfies. So Gotti and I sat down with teens to talk about why they're taking these extreme measures.
To these people.
Do any of you guys have a problem with it? Do you think that you're too young?
I mean, I feel like you should wait at least until maybe 21 because you really aren't sure what you want. I mean, what I wanted at 16 is completely different than what I wanted now.
I think we live in the generation where we equate our self-worth and value with literally numerical value that's on a page. So yeah, we see who's getting likes, who's getting followers, and we assume that that's the right path.
17-year-old Ryan Jeter says he got surgery after being bullied for his big ears, starting in middle school.
They really would give me nicknames about my ears. It's like, oh, there's like Dumbo right there. I was basically crushed. I was very depressed.
At 15, Ryan had his ears surgically pinned back. He says it's changed his life, gaining him new confidence and a
filters in real life, right? And this is going to be kind of scary, I think, for a lot of people because they're not ready for it. They're really not. And out of all the points in this list, this is the one that's going to have the most contention and the most people fighting, I feel. That or the next one. Like it or not, appearance has been proven statistically over and over again. Like every time we do a study and we look at people's revealed behavior, not what they say, but what they do, attractiveness always wins out other favors, right? Attractiveness is whether or not they give you a chance to show off your character. A person's content of character doesn't affect their dating lives in the first 10 sections of the interaction most of the time, right? It may affect it weeks on or for the first...
would match during the interview. Our goal was to make them identical except for their looks. Before we sent them out, we had a makeup artist exaggerate the difference. She touched up the lookers and, well, with the others, added some blemishes and put bags under their eyes. Then we sent them out in matching outfits. At this business, Danya, the more attractive tester, applied for a secretarial job.
How you pronounce your name? Danya.
Danya.
Okay, let's go back here, Danya. Great.
We used hidden cameras to tape these tests because interviewers obviously would behave differently if they knew they were on TV. Later, we asked the interviewers permission to show their faces. We've digitized the faces of those who said no. Still, even without seeing this man's face, you can hear the warmth in his voice as he talks to Danya.
I guess it's just me right now. Yeah. But, looking for somebody that we like to have a good time at the same time.
Then we sent Amy in for the same job. The interviewer says roughly the same things, but his tone is less friendly. He tells her about the lunch break.
Monday through Friday with a 45-minute lunch break.
But with the good-looking Danya, the lunch break is just more flexible.
Company policy's 45 minutes, but we're not real strict around here on that kind of stuff.
He told Danya things looked good.
That you're definitely in the lead right now.
Really?
Yeah.
He later offered her the job. He never even called Amy back. We ran a similar test using Mike and the especially good-looking Mark. Would looks make less of a difference when the interviewers were judging men? Apparently not. On the first interview for a sales job, the interviewer told Mike he'd call him later.
So let me confirm some phone numbers so when I review all the interviews, I can make some decisions.
He never called. With Mark, the interviewer was eager to have him return for a tryout day.
Is tomorrow available?
No. The same thing happened at the next interview. The interviewer told Mike.
So, this is going to be the most taboo. It's going to be the hardest that people accept. And a good example of this is South Korea. South Korea is notably more, I would argue, ahead of the internet culture and the social media culture than America is. And we already see this in their population. Large percentage of South Koreans get plastic surgery normally, and it's actually made fun of quite a bit how much plastic surgery dominates that culture. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be popular in America. America has plenty of plastic surgeons available. In America, we have health insurance companies that cover it. Not even just not also just the 6.1 million reconstructive surgeries where someone gets a scar or breaks their nose, but in real estate, if you sell houses for a living or you work in any type of sales job, your employer sometimes may pay it because the more attractive you are, the more likely you are to sell houses. I'm not making this up. So, number 3, I think plastic surgery is going to be very normal in the upcoming 10 to 20 years. It might even be a dominant way men try to improve their dating chances.
Number 4.
Polyamorous relationships in the form of polygamy will be the new normal. The high standards the manosphere makes fun of are the result of, or not the result of pickiness, but the result of greed. In a recent Wheat Waffle video, I saw him explain how a lot of women would not date a man if their friends did not find him attractive out of fear of social repercussion. And this just points to point out that social media has beyond ruined dating for so many people. So much about what makes a woman's decisions in regards to dating is, can I bring him home to my parents and would they judge me? Or to my friends and would they judge me? Is he a high status symbol? And a big reason why people never always have these dating apps and they never pick a partner is because they're looking for their best options. They're constantly looking through, evaluating people. Does he have this? Does he have that? And you always have to be better than everyone around you when you're in these relationships. And it reminded me of this book called Sex at Dawn: How We Mate, Why We Stray, and what it means for modern relationships. The geist of the book is that if you look at anthropology, humans' closest relatives like chimpanzees and bonobos, and the available psychosexual research with history, what you find is monogamy, or available hunter-gatherer, what you find is monogamy has been with us for less than 10% of human history. It's a very recent development. And only people who live in civilizations, societies that developed farming, only post-farming civilizations really had this monogamy. And it's because everything had to be turned into some kind of property that a person was held responsible for these societies to work. But we don't live in those societies. It's been over 10,000 years at least since my ancestors had the farm in the way that these people did. So I'm just going to put down, and when I discuss this with someone else or some other people, they tend to argue with me. So I'm just going to put 5 additional reasons why I think number 4 is inevitable. Number 1, I don't have to argue this up front, so I'm just going to settle it. Cheating and how we think about it is changing. Boomers thought, when you told a boomer someone cheated, they thought things like they held hands in public when they weren't. They were romantic in a way they shouldn't. They flirted with each other. They they were on a date when they shouldn't be out public, or they did some activity together that normally only a girlfriend and boyfriend would do, right? Now, with more younger generation, and as a whole, 1 out of 4 Americans do not consider one-night stands cheating. Again, 1 out of 4 Americans do not consider one-night stands cheating. A lot of Americans don't consider their girlfriends running a OnlyFans cheating. Some people do. So the fact that what we used to count as cheating is no longer cheating, it shows that we're a lot less strict with our intimacy ways. The way we think of sex is nowhere near as restrictive, close, disciplined, or monogamous as we used to. Number 2, using viral examples of polyamorous relationships failing due to infighting and chaos, or historical examples of when the alpha dies of a harem or a sultan. Everyone goes to kill the kids, so their kid's the only one left. They has to be in charge of the empire, and the military has to back him. Those are not going to stop people. There's plenty of dumb lifestyle decisions people do that remove years from their lives, right? Like smoking, drinking regularly, partying, driving way too fast. I mean, the list, I can go on and on and on about all the stupid stuff people do, especially in regards to their sex lives. I mean, we have plenty of data showing that high body counts or having sex with someone every week or every weekend is dumb. But most people around my age still try that. So, yeah, you can... it's not going to stop anything. Number 3, conservatives have never been able to maintain a social taboo. And this is a great shame because people like to define culture as what we do. Like we eat lasagna in the morning and as our biggest meal. Then we have small bits of meat throughout the day, or we eat these foods, we dress this way, we like this type of music. This percentage of us have tattoos, right? When in reality, what people are willing to do doesn't tell you as much about them as what they're not willing to do. A culture, violating some social taboo in a culture tells you way more about that culture than what they like to do, right? What they're willing to abstain from, discipline themselves away from, ostracize, and restrict from doing is vastly more important than what they're willing to do. Number 4, there's a lot of pathetic men who are going to settle for these relationships, right? They're going to think, okay, if I join this polyamorous relationship with 20 other guys and 6 other girls, right, I can court maybe one of the girls and making them my favorite or their favorite, and over time will just turn into a monogamous relationship. There's plenty of guys who are going to try that strategy. There's also plenty of guys who are okay with it, right? There's plenty of guys who, I think Destiny's a streamer who's in somewhat, like, they're in an open relationship so they can sleep around if they want. There's plenty of guys who are down for that, right? And you can call it pathetic, and yes, a lot of men are pathetic, especially the men who are going to fall for this, or are going to be so desperate they're going to resort to this. But this is just the future we chose. I'm sorry. Number 5, the amount of people who have to check on each other's phones due to the paranoia that they're cheating is astonishing. And there's even an NPR article from college professors telling horror stories of a massive spike among cheating among their students during the hysteria chili. So those are the 5 reasons why, or some 5 reasons additionally going into why I think polyamorous relationships will be the new normal, right? And if you need a 6th reason, once celebrities start doing it, it's going to be very, very hard to convince other people not to. Here's some sort, and there's also articles promoting it already. This is not the last holdout. This is just, it's inevitable. It really is. Hell, online dating is already very close to polyamory in a sense, or definitely close to polygamy, with if the data is to be seen as trustworthy.
Number 5.
Number 5, men won't be investing in themselves or the ones around them. Now, I'm not going to praise, gurus on the internet that sell bad self-help advice they don't follow in order to sell some, like, dieting program or some fitness program they don't follow. That's not in me. Why I'm going to say, though, it is going to be a great shame. If you ask most men what their dreams are, they're not very ambitious. They just want to find a girl that loves them the way their parents loved them and have kids and do the same, right? They're not too ambitious. They want to have a job like plumber, HVAC, maybe some kind of accountant, maybe some kind of manager or warehouse employee, maybe get forklift certified, maybe drive Ubers and do a bunch of small things around town, right? Maybe they're a teacher, right? They just want a simple career, a wife, and maybe 1 or 2 kids. They're not too ambitious, or as many siblings they have, right? Or they can afford. But what happens when you want to pay the price for blocking out the sun, right? Once men who are developing into men, right? Like people around the ages of 15 to 25, once they realize that dating in that way, monogamous relationships, once they realize the sanctity and the sacredness of being in a relationship is nonsensical, or it's nothing their parents or their grandparents would be happy with, and what they realize what they could have had if they were just born a few generations ago, or if some taboos were just better maintained, or if culture just took longer, I think they wouldn't want to invest in the society, and I don't frankly blame them, right? Like, why would you invest in someone that, like, why would you go out of your way to be friends with someone that you're just gonna have sex? Like, if all relationships is just friends you occasionally have sex with, that there's some sexual attraction to or roleplay attraction to, if that's all it is, then it's not that special. There's nothing special about sleeping with someone that you slept with 20 other people with, or like being in a group. There's just nothing sacred about it. There's nothing noteworthy. There's nothing, it's just benign, right? It's just, oh yeah, I did that. It's not special. If it's not special, if it doesn't feel like it's theirs, it's like given to them, or they have like the permission or the trust, right? If they don't feel like they have anything like that, all the energy, all the hard work that makes these men want to sacrifice their lives to maintain these families are going out the window. Why would a guy who works in an oil rig for, half the year out of his life, right, only to spend the other half of his year with his family, why would he do that if he's not going to have a family? Every man that works a job that he hates, that he works hard and gets overtime for, just so his family is better off, why would he maintain that if there's no one to come home to, or there's nothing special to come to? This goes for everything from fitness to occupations or any type of self-improvement. A lot of guys self-improve, like it or not, for very vain reasons, because they want to attract women. Most guys who go to the gym, they skip leg day because they just want to have an impressive chest and arm. They want to look big and somewhat intimidating. They want to be like alpha to attract the chicks because they think that's what works. And yeah, you should go to the gym, but for health reasons and for yourself, not for others. Because when you learn that what vain, idiotic, and frankly vapid people will do that, will get you there, it becomes like actually very saddening, and you feel more alone than ever. So I think the price for blotting out the sun is men in the future will go one of two ways. You have these men who are very sex and touch depraved, right? They have very little sense of female social interaction, and they'll be very desperate for it. So they'll pay things like they'll go to a bar or a restaurant where a girl pretends to be their friend. They play video games and they eat some cheap food. Maybe they get their hair combed or cut by a girl, and they get complimented like you did a good job and all these things, right? And they'll leave, maybe not visit for a few months and go a few months there. Or you'll have, a guy who joins a polyamorous relationship hoping to court one of the girls in that polyamorous relationship. But in general, I think you will have a larger chunk of the population that's basically MGTOW, right? They look at relationships, they look at how they're not really all that special, or they'll say things like, the process of childbirth isn't that special. Animals in the zoo do it all the time, right? Or animals in the wild do it all the time. Sex, that's not that special. Prostitution's been legalized for how many years, and you can just watch porn. There's so much porn on the internet. Like, is this really that special? So the future of men will be men who don't push themselves to their limit, right? You have some men who will do crazy, impossible tasks, will literally break bones in their face and shave parts of their like their muscle in their face to look more attractive for women, like push themselves beyond their national peak, right? Even with steroids and PEDs and stuff. And you'll have other men who will not see the point of it, right? Or they know they won't be happy with what's available to them in their dating ecosystem, and they'll just say, I'm just gonna play video games. I'm just gonna work enough for myself, and maybe not a minimalistic life, but definitely a potentially very consumeristic life. And this is the price for blotting out the sun.